Sir, your mic is mute. Sir, please unmute your mic. Sir, please unmute your mic, sir. Hello. Sir, please unmute your mic. Dr. Ahmed Khan. Dr. Khan. Sir, I'm unable to hear you properly. Yeah. Your mic is unmuted for the past 3-4 minutes.
Acha, so I have to repeat again.
Yeah, I think nobody might have heard.
No. Yeah. Okay, sorry. So,
sorry.
Good morning, one and all. Today, I welcome our guest speaker, Dr. Natarajan Shivaraj, Principal Scientist, Indian Council of Agriculture Research, National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, Regional Station, Rajendra Nagar, Hyderabad. Sir is Bachelor and Masters as well as MPhil from Madurai Kanvaj University, and he completed his PhD from Bharatidasan University. Positions held are Senior Research Fellow, Bharatidasan University, Trichy. He is Scientist in Economic Botany since 1993 to 98, Senior Scale Scientist in Economic Botany 1998 to 2002, and Senior Scientist Economic Botany, Principal Scientist since 2009 to till date. And awards and honors to his credit are Proficiency Prize in BSc Botany and Chemistry 1983, Proficiency Prize in MPhil Botany 1986, awarded Senior Research Fellowship by Ministry of Environment and Forest 1989, awarded Senior Research Fellowship CSIR 1991, Best Paper Award in Plant Ecology by Indian Botanical Society, selected as one of the 4 sectional committee members for the Agriculture Sciences session of the Indian Science Congress, Fellow Indian Society of Oilseeds Research, Hyderabad, Fellow Indian Society of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi 2015, awarded Nuffic Fellowship under the Netherlands Fellowship Program 2007, Talented Scientist Award by the International Seminar on Medicinal Plants and Herb Products 2010, Tirupati, Lifetime Fellow, Association for Advancement of Biodiversity Science, Dharwad. Distinguished Scientist Award by Venus International Foundation, Chennai. Renowned Biodiversity Science Award 2015 by ABAS, Dharwad. Pearl Foundation Best Scientist Award in Botany 2016 in Madurai. Rashtriya Gaurav Award by India International Fellowship Society 2016, New Delhi. Best Poster Award, First International Aggro Biodiversity Congress, New Delhi 2016. Award for Excellence in Research by Education Expo TV 2016, Mumbai. RK Arora Best Paper Award and Lifetime Achievement Award, and received Best Poster Award. Along with that, he is a member of several societies like Swami Botanical Club, Trichy, Indian Society of Oilseed Research, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, Mumbai, Asian Agri History Foundation, Indian Society of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi, Alumni Association, Bharati Dasan University, Trichy, Indian Society of Medicinal Plants Research, Anand, Plant Protection Association of India, Hyderabad, Indian Science Congress Association, Kolkata. To his credit, there are 150 research articles, 95 symposia abstracts, 45 book chapters, 4 books, and 14 are other publications to his credit. With these few words of introduction, I welcome Sir to start his lecture. Over to Sir. Thank you, Sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tom, for having given these nice notes. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of this lecture series by the Department of Botany, Telangana University. You have taken a lot of pains in organizing this. I congratulate the whole team of Botany at Telangana University. And, also, I thank wholeheartedly thank the organizers for having given me this chance to interact with your PG students. The topic for my today's lecture is biodiversity conservation with special reference to plant genetic resources and agro biodiversity. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, sir. Yeah. As is. So, within the next 45 minutes, I would like to discuss briefly on biodiversity and agro-biodiversity status covering the animal genetic resources, insect bioresources, fish genetic resources, plant genetic resources, and conservation and small count on bioprospecting and strategies for future management and generating livelihoods. I hope MSc students must be having the syllabus for biodiversity. They must be having some paper. Anyhow, it would be
Yes,
of
sir. Yes,
general nature.
We have.
Yeah. So these are the days where we celebrate the International Biodiversity Day, Biological Diversity Day. That is every year on 22nd May. And then during last year, we celebrated during the COVID pandemic time. That is 2020. And World Wildlife Day also on 3rd March. Recently, also this month of 3rd, we celebrated the World Wildlife Day. And this year's theme for the World Wildlife Day is forests and livelihoods, sustaining people and planet. And we also celebrate World Environment Day on June 5th of every year. So all these days, we'll remember we are with the biodiversity conservation. So in the title, I have given 3 words, plant genetic resources, biodiversity, and then agro-biodiversity. Let us first learn what is the definition for all this biodiversity, as well as first let's go with the plant genetic resources. We are all botany fraternity. We are from the botany community. So the genetic material of plant origin of actual or potential value in the form of seed, vegetative propagules, tissue, cell, pollen, DNA molecule, etc., containing the functional unit of heredity that can be utilized in crop improvement. So these are all called plant genetic resources. They are nothing but of actual or potential value in the form of seed or vegetable.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Sir, your video is on, but you're not. Your picture is not there, sir.
I see my picture. Huh? Okay, you want my picture? Okay.
Because no, in YouTube I am seeing you.
Okay.
Simultaneously in YouTube. Okay.
Now it's okay.
Okay, sir. Now it is
Now
okay.
it's
Thank
okay.
you. Sorry.
Okay, sir. Okay. So this is this picture depicts the plant genetic resources definition. It is nothing but the genetic material of plant origin of actual or potential value in the form of seed, vegetative propagule, tissue, cell, pollen, DNA molecule, etc. This is nothing but a subset of biodiversity of related cultivated and wild species containing genetic material of actual or potential value. And we all know that agriculture started during the Neolithic period, that is 10,000 years back. Agriculture has started, and plants provided food, as you all know, that plants provide food, direct and indirect, and fulfill other basic human needs. So, this is the definition for agrobiodiversity. It's nothing but the variety and variability of animals, plants, and microorganisms that are used directly or indirectly for food and agriculture, including crops, livestock, forestry, and fisheries, is defined as agrobiodiversity, as stated by Food and Agricultural Organization. Is nothing but a small subset of plant genetic resources or a small subset of biodiversity. And this agrobiodiversity have several components, like we have the wild plant species, crop varieties and species, agro ecosystems, traditional and cultural knowledge, biocontrol agents, and then soil organisms in cultivated fields, plant or animal germplasm, livestock and fish species. They all contribute to the agrobiodiversity. Well, we all know that what is biodiversity. Biodiversity is nothing but bio meaning life, and diversity it is indicating diversity. We all know that Earth is the only planet which is known to have life. It refers to the variety of various life forms that are found on Earth. There's nothing but the variety of various life forms that are found on the Earth. All plants, animals, microorganisms, and their genetic material are components of biodiversity. So biodiversity, it is nothing but the variation present in all species of plants and animals, their genetic material, and the ecosystem in which they occur. Biological resources, as we already seen, then I will be using frequently the word germplasm. Let us see the definition for that also. It is nothing but a group of diverse entities or propagules that can regenerate within a species. So in total, it is the sum total spectrum of variability that's available in any crop species, which includes land races, primitive cultivars, obsolete cultivars, released varieties, and wild and weedy species. So we all know that biodiversity exists at three different levels. One is at the genetic diversity at genetic level, and species diversity at species level, and then ecosystem diversity. These are the three levels biodiversity exists. What is genetic diversity? It is nothing but it refers to a variation in genes within a particular species. For example, left side I have given the Homo sapiens is nothing but a human. So there are different races, but all belonging to the same species, like Homo sapiens. That's why right side I have given the paddy. In Telugu, it's called paddy. Okay, there are different types of paddy. We have 35 to 45,000 different paddy varieties in India. Land races of old. They are all of different colors, shapes, and sizes. Okay, this type of diversity exists at within the species. So it is called genetic diversity. Yeah. Next is species diversity. We all know that there are 84 lakhs of species, different species of existing in different strata of biosphere. Like they're coming out of this species diversity. Difference among various species. You know, we have birds, animals, flowers, trees, so many things. So they're all under species diversity. Next is the ecosystem diversity. There are different ecosystems exist, aquatic and terrestrial. They're formed due to different geological environmental conditions prevailing on the Earth. So there all we have the deserts. For example, in Rajasthan, deserts and forests. You all know that in AP and Telangana also we have what do you call Nalamala forests. They are all forest ecosystem and grasslands, wetlands, and mangroves. These are all the different ecosystem diversity. So scientists have divided different climatic and ecological communities into various categories called biomes. All the world regions are divided into various categories called biomes. So, coming to the biodiversity conservation sites of the world, you have heard of biosphere reserves. They are they are all conserving the biodiversity. We have in the world, there are about 686 biosphere reserves all around the world. And in India, we have 18 of them. Likewise, the World Heritage Sites, there are 1121 World Heritage Sites. And some of the World Heritage Sites are also natural heritage sites. They all conserve, they are all performing biodiversity, they are all having within them biodiversity component. In India, we have about 38 biodiversity World Heritage Sites. Likewise, Ramsar sites, they are all nothing. Ramsar sites are nothing but the wetlands. There are 2,414 wetlands so far recognized all around the world, out of which 42 Ramsar sites are available in India. Similarly, biodiversity hotspots, there are 36 biodiversity hotspots recognized all over the world, out of which 4 are represented in India. So, there are about 36 biodiversity hotspots, I said. They support nearly 60% of the world's bioresources of plant, bird, mammal, reptile, and amphibian species. So in India, is one of the 8 Wavilian centers of origin. There are plant centers of origin, but we might have studied 8 Wavilian centers of origin, like this Hindustani center. Likewise, there are mega diversity nations. There are about 18, of which India represents 1. And 4 of the 36 hot spots of biodiversity exist. And these 4 are in India: Himalayas, Western Ghats, Indo-Burmese region, and Sundaland. So these 4 biodiversity hotspots are in India. Okay. So coming to the bioresources, there are about 127,000 species of plants and animals and microbes. Out of 127,000 species of plants, animals, and microbes recorded in India. 18,386 species of hair plants, 5,775 species of flowering plants endemic to India. That means it is only available in India, nowhere else in the world. So there are about 5,000 total economically useful species in India. About 583 crop plant species are cultivated. 168 crop plant species of origin. They originated 168 crop plant species like paddy, brinjal. There are different crops. About 165 of those plant species are originated in India, Indian center, that is Hindustani center. There are about 334 to 400 wild relatives of crop plant relatives also occurring in India. There are about 1,000 wild edible plant species. These are all about the bioresources in India. So I have listed here some of the national organizations associated with the biodiversity conservation. There are all ICR Institute, but Indian Research Institute. There are about 101 of the institutes all over India, and state agricultural ministries and traditional conventional universities, Department of Agriculture and Cooperation, Department of Biotechnology, Ministry of Environment and Forests and Climate Change, Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Commerce, DRDO, private sector, and the non-governmental organizations and other scientific societies. They are all associated with the biodiversity conservation in India. So this is nothing but the ICR institutes. I said earlier, there are about 101 research institutes in India. 101 ICR institutes, of which a dozen of them are located in Telangana state. Okay. Of the 101 institutes, there are about 6 national bureaus, of which 6 national bureau, 5 bureaus. They are involving with the International Genetic Resources Management System. That means they are dealing with the Aggro Biodiversity. The National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi. It is located in New Delhi, in NBPJ, with registration about 10 all over India. And National Bureau of Agriculture, Animal Genetic Resources, it is in Karnal. They are dealing with the animal resources. National Bureau of Fish Genetic Resources, it is located in Lucknow. They are dealing with the fish genetic resources. And National Bureau of Agriculturally Important Microorganisms, it is located in Mau, Uttar Pradesh. They are dealing with the microbes. These 5 bureaus act as a single window system for exchange of relevant biological material to research purposes and for exchange. These 5 bureaus are designated as repositories under the National Biodiversity Act. So this one is the National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, where I am working. It is in the service of nation for achieving sustainable food security since 1976. Individual regional station is having 10 regional stations starting from Srinagar to down south in Thrissur. We have Srinagar, Shimla, Bawali, Ranchi, Shillong, Cuttack, Akola, Jodhpur. In Telangana, we have in Hyderabad, the regional station is located in Hyderabad, and in Kerala, we have the station at Thrissur. So there are about 10 regional stations with headquarters in Delhi. So they all, this is working towards the sustainable agriculture production and for plant genetic resources management in the country. This is a nodal organization for collection and conservation of plant genetic resources used for food and agriculture. So why we need to conserve Aggro Biodiversity or any biodiversity? They are all valuable resource for humanity, both now or in the future. They play a role in maintaining a stable environment, largely notes the regulation and stability of environmental process, and the scientific value of bioresources and the opportunity to study and determine the ecological process, and also for managing the future options in biodiversity, and also it is having cultural value and symbolic. So coming to the animal genetic resources of India, we have around 198 registered cattle, buffalo, sheep, goat, horse, and police, camel, poultry, and others. There are about 198 registered breeds are available in India. India has a major share of animal genetic resources in terms of both the number of breeds as well as total population of farm animals in the world. A large and divergent range of agricultural zones in India has helped to develop this large number of breeds of various livestock species. This picture depicts the animal diversity, the animal biodiversity of India. There are about 198 breeds, of which cattle are about 50. They are Vechu, Pungannu, Pangayam, and from Telangana also, from Mannanu, there is a breed registered. And then buffalo, there are about 17 types of buffalo, sheep 44, goat 34. There are others, the 53, the pig 10, donkey 3, duck and geese 1. There are about 9 registered varieties of camel, and there are 7 horse varieties, and then poultry 19, yak 1, and then mithun. It is available in Arunachal Pradesh. Coming to the fish genetic resources, there are about 27,800 species all over the world, of which India recorded 2,563 species. They all belong to freshwater, brackish water, and cold water, ornamental and shellfish. So this is the Indian, in freshwater there are about 877, brackish water 130, marine water 1573, and there are about total 2,563 species recorded in India. And every year new species are also added. This is the situation in the Western Ghats, where number of fish species recorded 331, of which endemic 231. That 69% of them fish species are endemic. That is, it is only available in Western Ghats, nowhere else in the world. This is the fish genetic resources situation in the northeastern region, where fish species 334 recorded, of which endemic 169. This is in the northeastern region of this picture depicts the exit conservation of fish germplasm. There are strong preservation protocols developed for many fish species. These are the activities carried out by the National Bureau of Fish Genetic Resources, is located in Lucknow. They established the live gene bank, also tissue banking. There are about more than 15,000 accessions of watch specimens repository in that institute that is located in Lucknow. This is the insect bioresources situation where we have about 51,000 species of insect in India. These constitute about 60% of the 6% of the world's insect fauna. So these are all some of the Indian parasitoids. I don't know much about the zoology, but I have given here the Indian parasitoids list of parasitoids. They are all useful in the agriculture. Also, these are all the coccinellid bioresources in India. These are all handled by the National Bureau of Important Insects that is located in Bangalore, Karnataka. These are also more coccinellid. They are useful in agriculture. They are helping the agriculture crops. So, coming to the microbial resources of India, there are about 60 lakhs all over the world recorded, of which of this, India is having 1,26,188 species of bacteria, fungi, plant, and animals. So this conservation of microbial diversity is carried out by the National Bureau of Agriculturally Important Microorganisms. It is located in Uttar Pradesh. So they are conserving fungi, bacteria, actinomyces, blue-green algae, in short term 5 to 10 years, and long term is 20 to 25 years. This is the period, and we are all botanists, and we will come to the botany part now. There are about 4 lakh plant species estimated worldwide, of which 3 lakhs plant species are documented, of which 30,000 plant species are edible, 7,000 species are cultivated, and of them 30 species only feed the world. I mean paddy, maize, and then wheat. These are the 3 major crops. It is feeding the 50% of the world's population. Okay, this is the status of India's rich floral diversity as per the document from Ministry of Environment and Forests 2019. We have all game about 7,357 taxa, of which endemic are 1,924. Bryophytes, 2,748 bryophyte species are recorded in India. Endemic, that means which is only available in India. 629 bryophyte species only located in India. Like fungi, there are about 15,000, and pteridophytes, 1,289. Gymnosperms, there are about 79 species. Lichen, like you might have studied lichens. So lichen, we have about 2,500 species of lichen. And angiosperms, there are about 18,386 angiosperm species, of which roughly around 4,000 to 5,000 are endemic. Okay. So total recorded is 47,485. So 18,386 plants of head plants are recorded in India, of which 168 are major and minor crop plant species, wild-related species of crop plants, and then 25 crop plant species domesticated. That means it is domesticated in Indian region. There are about 1,500 wild edible plant species in India, 140 species of fruits and tree gods, leafy vegetables, species of buds and flowers, fruits, and then seeds and nuts are recorded. There are about 9,500 species of ethnobotanical uses, 7,500 for ethnomedicinal purposes. These are all the plant genetic resources of India. So where these resources are distributed in the various agroecological regions of India. So sorry. So they are distributed in Western Himalayas, Eastern Himalayas, Northeastern region, Gangetic Plains, Indus Plains, Eastern Peninsula region, Malabar region, Western Ghats, then island regions. We fall in Eastern Peninsula region, that's Eastern Ghats protected pathway. So these are the regions. Just for example, I have given here in the Gangetic Plains, we have diversity in rice, sorghum, barnyard millet, little millet, like so other many crops. Likewise, in the Northeast region, we have diversity for rice, maize, sorghum, finger millet, some millets, and then vegetables, tuber crops, citrus species, tea, tree, cotton, jute, cannas, and so many other crops. We have the diversity of the northeastern region. So in Deccan Plateau, that is our we are falling under this region, Eastern Peninsula region, where we have diversity in rice, sorghum, finger millet, pearl millet, foxtail millet, little millet, rosa millet, dodo millet, and then there are many pulses, tuber crops, and then fruits, then oil seeds, then spices. We have diversity in this region, in Telangana as well as the Eastern Peninsula region. So in the Indus plains, we have wheat, pearl millet, mouth bean, and several other crops. So all these are to be explored and collected, and then how the acquisition is done based on the exploration collection. We used to go on regular exploration trips. We might have also undertaken many trips. So we used to collect the seeds of all the traditional crops, not only traditional crops, but also the wild species from the forest regions also. So we have to maintain the database acquisition and then characterize. We have the descriptors for plant characters, and we based on the characterization, we need to sort the different types of characterization. We use the descriptors, then price specific evaluation, biochemical and molecular, so many other characterization, human characterization also there. Then finally we go for consumption in seed gene bank or in vitro or clear method field gene bank and DNA bank likewise. So collecting germplasm is a prerequisite to the utilization. Okay, collecting requires, you all know that meticulous preparations. We need to find the target species and population, plant species, and then to capture the maximum diversity for the amount of material collected, resources invested, and great variation, specific and intraspecific expected in a vast and diverse country like India. Essential to get idea of external genetic diversity and its distribution before embarking on actual exploration missions. Conducting an ecogeographic survey is standard as preparation. Surveys increase emphasis on localized germplasm, collecting with focus on specific traits. So NPPJ has so far undertaken 2,669 germplasm exploration missions all over India. There are about between 1946 and 2016, these many exploration missions were undertaken. There are about 269,541 acquisitions have been collected so far from the different crop groups: cereals, vegetables, pulses, medicinal and aromatic plants, spices, oil seeds, and so on and so forth. So of which 85% of them are cultivated, 15% are the wild species. So here what I depicted is the diversity in the paddy. Rice is one of the most ancient crops being cultivated for over 10,000 years in Asia Pacific region, and the gene banks in Asia Pacific region holds more than 0.15 million rice accessions. In India, in the National Gene Bank at Delhi, we have 110,000 species. Sorry, 110,000 samples of different paddy varieties which are cultivated in India. So these are all the different types of rice varieties we have in gene bank. Land races, we have traditional varieties, then basmati and aromatic short grain types, medicinal and mata rices. Medicinal rice also there, then farmers varieties, then high specialty soft rices, high yielding varieties, and then wild rices. These are all from this is the Mishi Chauka. This is from northeast region, that's mostly from Assam, and then Sudan Gora. Some of the soft rices we need not cook, we just soak it and eat it. That type of rice varieties are also available. In Kerala, we have the Navara rices. They are the traditional medicinal rice varieties in Kerala, used for widely in Ayurveda to cure hemorrhoids, stomach ulcer, polio in children, and some home remedies. The red rice you might have seen, varieties of Kerala referred as Mata rices, have thicker berry crop, fiber rich, and are believed to contain higher amounts of minerals. So these are all some of the specialized rice varieties which are available in our. So these are all some of the land races of our AP and Telangana. Here, I can provide the name here. You can see the picture. So these are the diversity in maize. We have the different types of maize, maize, sweet corn, Cloudy maize and popcorn and maxi maize. These are the maize varieties, maize diversity available in India and abroad. We have a rich diversity in wheat in different parts of region. Then barley diversity in the northern India. Then barley, yeah. We have a diversity for barley, sikkel, buckwheat, amaranth. That is totapura in Telugu. And then coming to the millets, we have a good diversity in whole millet, sorghum, and then lesser millets like Dhanya millet and then foxtail millet. We have the good diversity in different regions of India. That is shown in the slide. So this is the sorghum diversity collected by the Indian Institute of Millet Research. It is located in Hyderabad, where they are maintaining sorghum crop diversity collected and maintained by the Indian Institute of Millet Research. More than 3,100 accessions are conserved in the medium-term module of the institute. We have also sample also being kept in the National Bureau for Genetic Resources, Gene Bank at Delhi. So this is Korra. This is called foxtail millet. Korra in Telugu. We have diversity in different regions of India. This is the finger millet. This is called Taidalu or Ragi mainly. There are a good number of diversity you can see from the picture itself. This is the good amount of diversity is depicted in these pictures. Then this is called little millet. Then barnyard millet. All millet diversity. And coming to the legumes, we have the group of it's nothing but a group of pulses and related plants. We have the wild legumes, an important component of global biodiversity, more particularly in the tropics and the subtropics. Apart from the various industrial other uses such as sources of tannins, dyes, forage and fodder, fibers, etc., the legumes play a very significant role in human nutrition and medicine. As you all know, they all contain protein. Indian Gene Center endowed with rich legume biodiversity, including the wild and cultivated. There are about 1,152 species belonging to 179 genera. Ever increasing population requires alternate sources of energy and nutrition and health security in our country. So, exploitation of pulses is one of the important step towards building the nutrition security. India, being a biodiversity rich country, holds a prominent position in terms of many underutilized legume species. We have the green gram, then black gram, good diversity in Telangana region also, Andhra region. So these are nothing but the picture show depicted here is the black gram, that is minimal in Telugu. So we have the colored minimal, green colored minimal also there, red colored, tan, brown, and so many diverse types of minimal available in Telangana as well as in India. So this is the diversity in green gram. Green gram is pesalu or pesalu in Telugu. So we have Nalla pesalu from Adilabad, then Nalla pesalu from Khammam, and then from Adilabad we have the Bonita pesalu, a special yellow colored pesalu, which is available in Adilabad. So we have tested this Bonita pesalu where it can be grown using the climate models. And this using the crop model would also indicate the climate suitable regions for the cultivation of this mutant Bonita pesalu in parts of Telangana, Maharashtra, Odisha, Chhattisgarh, and Madhya Pradesh states of India. This Bonita pesalu is given to the nursing mothers. It's a small erect herbaceous animal, non-twining, having 1.2 feet in height. It is given to the nursing mothers to increase the lactation. So such a good green gram is available in Telangana, so it can be exploited. We have diversity for red gram, Bengal gram, cowpea. See, these are the diversity in AP and Telangana. We have the good diversity of red gram. You can see the seeds, different types of seeds of pigeon pea. This is the chickpea diversity collected and conserved by the National Bureau of Planning and Resources. Then cowpea, large number of from collections from Northeast India. My colleague Dr. Sunil has collected some of the cowpea collections from Northeast India. So these are the house plant diversity. It's called Ulavadu in Telugu. And we have cultivated oilseeds. There are 9 oilseed crops in India: groundnut, rapeseed, mustard, safflower, sunflower, sesame, soybean, Niger, castor, and linseed. So these are having good amount of diversity. For example, castor, in this picture, there are 3 types of capsule: red, green, and mixed. So we have good diversity in all the 9 oilseed crops in India. Coming to the vegetables, we have good diversity in India, like potato, pumpkin, etc. So these are the diversity in brinjal all over India. Brinjal is originated from India. This crop has been originated from India. So we have the good number of diversity in brinjal. This is the chili diversity from Northeast India. Then from Karnataka, all over India, there's Pachima, East Godavari, yellow colored mirchi also available. So these are the good diversity available in, though it is introduced, but it has naturalized in our country. Though it has been introduced during 16th century, but very well recognized. This is secondary center of diversity. So here this picture shows the bottle gourd diversity from Telangana. A good diversity in various shapes and shells of bottle gourd. It's called Sorakaya or Anupkaya. A good diversity in ridge gourd we have in India, and then in bottle gourd also, sorry, in snake gourd, we have good diversity. Also in muskmelon, amaranth, totapura, we have the good number of diversity in inflorescence. It was all depicted here. And we have diversity in tuber crops also. We have diversity for banana, jackfruit, jamun, and gooseberry, many fruit species I listed earlier. And this is the citrus diversity from Northeast India. We have the gene sanctuary for citrus in Meghalaya. This is very beauty in mango from Chickpea and Telangana. This is the banana. Good diversity in banana depicted in northeastern region of our country. There are many varieties of banana in India also. Also, we have diversity in spices and fiber crops. In addition to these cultivated crops, there are crop wild relatives. They constitute an important but scarcely exploited component of the gene pool of domesticated species available to plant breeders. They are extensively used in resistance breeding. For example, these wild relatives, they possess good genes. For example, drought tolerant genes or disease resistant genes. They are slowly being exploited by the plant breeders. Wild relatives are the close components of cultivated plant species and together form a genetically compatible complex. They are plants related to socio-economically important species, including food, fodder, and forage crops, medicinal plants, condiments, ornamental and forestry species, as well as plants used for industrial purpose such as oils and fibers. So we have a good wild relative of crop plants from India, as well as in Telangana also we have a good diversity for crop wild species. This is spine gourd diversity. And this is nothing but the wild legume. It's called tamakaya. Concerted efforts are required to popularize the production and consumption of processed wild legumes, including other species of Canavalia. We have the Canavalia, different species: Canavalia gladiata, Canavalia maritima, Canavalia virosa, Canavalia cathartica, as they form chief sources of nutrition and energy. One can exploit this pulses, underutilized pulses, to substitute the other existing pulses like red gram and green gram. They are also rich in protein, and we can utilize. These are Mucuna species, Mucuna monostoma, as well as the proteins available in Telangana. So we have good diversity in the seed of Mucuna. This one is Hemidesmus indicus, the root extract has been used in syrup. We have good diversity collected from southern parts of Andhra Pradesh. We have good diversity. This is called Nari in Tamil and Sivandapala in. We have a collection of different medicinal plants all over India. And this one is Abrus precotorius, Guruginja or Guruvinda in Telugu. So there are different types of there are about 7 to 8 colored Abrus precotorius available in India, most probably in Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats region of India. This is Adathana xylanica, the medicinal plant. The leaves with the solanum, surtans and fruits of Piperlanga are taken, made into powder for cough, to control the cough. This is Eagle Marmulus, Maredu. This is Asparagus resinosus. Group is given in the morning for 3 days to cure stomach ulcer. This is the Boswellia ovediculata, endemic to Seshatchalam Hill range of this is Entada persita. This is applied on the affected part for rheumatic pains and swellings. And after collection of all this, one has to characterize and evaluate. Individual has evaluated so far 181,325 samples of different crops characterized and evaluated. There are core sets in okra, mung bean, sesame, and brinjal has been developed. 80 crop catalogs published. So there are 20,000 wheat accessions grown at a time at Haryana Agriculture University Ponds Resort recently. Coming to the crop genetic resources conservation part. So every year there are about 17 million hectares of forest destroyed. 75% of the traditional varieties are replaced, monocultures becoming prevalent in. Yeah. Coming to the strategies of conservation, as you all know about, there are 2 major strategies for conservation. One is in situ conservation, that is conservation of species in its original habitat or agro ecosystem. Another strategy is ex situ conservation, where the jump of conservation attempted outside the natural habitat of the species. The 2 major strategies I said. These are the strategies. One is in situ in its original habitat, and it is a dynamic conservation. Whereas in ex situ, it is outside the habitat and static conservation. We are collecting and blocking its natural evolution. Okay. Biosphere, there are different types of in situ conservation strategies like biosphere reserves, national parks, gene sanctuaries, and also on field, that is on farm conservation, where we can conserve wild species, wild relatives, land races, and traditional varieties can be conserved in situ. Whereas in the ex situ, we have the field gene bank, like crop gene bank, arboretum, conservation of field species, herbal garden and botanical garden, seed gene bank, in vitro gene bank, cryo bank, and DNA bank. So under ex situ conservation, we can conserve the seed propagated materials and cold store modules, where there are 3 different types of conservation. One is the medium term storage, where we can conserve for 5 to 10 years under 4 degrees Celsius with 35% relative humidity. Whereas in the long term storage, we can conserve under minus 20 degrees Celsius as base collection with reduced seed moisture content to 4%, and then relative humidity to 15%. Under these conditions, it is termed as long-term storage, where we can store 85 to 100 years without losing the viability of seeds. Whereas under cryopreservation, it is done at minus 196 degrees Celsius. It is used for the seed conservation under various spots like pollen grain and other organs. So vegetatively propagated, we can store in vitro repository can be used, and then cryopreservation minus 196 degrees Celsius. In addition to that, DNA libraries we can store under minus 80 degrees Celsius, and then pollen at cryopreserved conditions. So in the National Gene Bank in Delhi, we have 4,39,770 samples of different crops and wild relatives, medicinal plants. There are about 8,000 medicinal plants conserved in the National Gene Bank. See, number of species conserved are 1,762 species belonging to, so 4 lakh species, 4 lakh samples belonging to 1762 species are currently being conserved in the National Gene Bank at Delhi. This is the 3rd largest gene bank in the world. So in the cryopreservation, I said it is being conserved under minus 180 degrees Celsius. Number of accessions, there are about 13,000 accessions conserved, of which belonging to 749 species. So this is in vitro cryopreservatory where 2,000 accessions are currently being conserved, belonging to 132 species, mostly for fruits, tuber crops, bulbous and medicinal aromatic plants, and so on and so forth, like ginger. Some of the spices are also being conserved under in vitro conditions. Something not stuck right here. Yeah. In this picture, I am showing the Soligard global sea vault. It is located in Norway. That is in the what we call natural ice conditions in the northern hemisphere of Norway, where 193 countries are keeping their seed material in this seed vault. Number of genera so far kept as 1,091. Number of species 6,000 species. Accessions 9 lakh accessions are currently being conserved. In this seed vault, Indian origin taxa around 524, and then 73,000 accessions are currently conserved in the natural condition, that is at the Soligard global sea, the Arctic region of the world. So, world status on gene banks, I'm studying here. There are about 1,750 gene banks. They are conserving the 7.4 million seed samples all over the world. They are located in 100 countries. These 17,050 gene banks are located in more than 100 countries. They are conserving 7.4 million seed samples for the posterity of the human being. So these are the jumpers holdings at different CGI. There are about 16 CGI centers. They are storing about 57,000 accessions of seed samples all over India. Sorry, all over the world. Coming to the in-situ conservation, biosphere reserves are the protected areas. They have several species within the biosphere reserves. It is convenient and economic for conservation of wild relatives. There are limitations for the biosphere reserve. It is vulnerable to natural and human-made disasters like forest fire, floods, fine, heavy rains, etc. The areas have to be large to accommodate large population size. Hence, overall cost of conservation is quite high in case of biosphere reserve. And it is difficult in establishing the protected areas outweigh the benefits of the goal of the protected one or two species. So, and these are the observations. No single method can conserve all the genetic diversity within the species. Complementary approach is required between conservation of natural populations to the collections in gene bank. Appropriate strategy depends on the biological characteristics of the species. And the networking and collaboration is very important. Yeah. Coming to the bioprospecting, there are about 20,000 plant species collected. 2,000 will be investigated on ethnobotany reports. 200 species found positive. Only 20 species entered. This I put the slide because you see Development of commercial products from plant species is a long and expensive and uncertain process. So, prospecting bioresources for biofuel production in India, we have currently more than 95% of biodiesel is made from renewable oils or conventional sources all over the world, and we need to have we need to exploit more non-edible oil crops. We have in India there are more than 100 species of tree-borne oilseed crops. Commercial non-edible oilseed crops like castor, linseed, etc. are available, and short gestation oil crops also. These are all some of the crop species which can be exploited for the biodiversity production. And this is Fungani pinnata, a promising biodiversity crop. We have good diversity. And this is Jatrophococcus, a capable biofuel crop. So there are some strategies for PGR management and in generating livelihoods. We need to accelerate the biodiversity inventarization and technology development in our country. Organizing and strengthening genetic resource database and providing access to information through networking is required. And harnessing eco-regional potentials. Rainfed coastal, we have different agro-ecological regions, and they are to be harvested for eco-regional potentials. Diversification and enlargement of food basket and nutrition formula for enhanced sustainability and improved human health and increased profitability is the need of the hour. New initiatives like the processing, product development, value addition of crops by appropriate exploitation of the genetic resources are required. Identification of new crops, including underutilized and life support species of various varieties in niche areas. Then enhanced public and private partnership in research is required, and then encourage networking of exchange evaluation and certain utilization of plant genetic resources in the nation's interest. We need to accelerate the bodies. I already said there is some problem in the slides here. Then energy security from crop genetic resources received attention of scientists and planners. It boosts rural economy. Plants are winning source of energy, as we all know. Then biodiesel production from Jatropha, Pongamia, and other tree-borne oilseeds are being exploited. And ethanol from sugarcane, sweet sorghum, and other sources, including food grains and marine algae, are being exploited. And these are the concerns for the biodiversity decline. The exceptional biodiversity continues to decline, and combinations of human-induced factors are a key driver for biodiversity loss. Asia and the Pacific continue to experience a deforestation and forest degradation. Rapid growth in demand for wildlife products is fueling unsustainable trade with impacts inside and outside the country. Also in the Asia Pacific region, alien species create a particular pressures on the oceanic islands. Then marine ecosystems are vulnerable to growth in commercial and artisanal fisheries. The negative impacts of climate change on species and ecosystems are exacerbating the effects of other pressures on biodiversity. We have certain policy issues for enactment of national legislations like the Biodiversity Act, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Regulations Act, and then Plant Quarantine Order, etc., for protection of IPRs with respect to plant genetic resources, traditional varieties, and indigenous knowledge. Harmonizing traditional knowledge with the modern science, including is the need of the work. And India's commitment to protect the biodiversity, we have signed the Convention on Biodiversity on 5th of June 1992 and ratified it on 18th February 1994, and signed the Cartagena Protocol on 23rd January and ratified the same on 11th September. Also, the historical adoption of legally binding international treaty on plant genetic resources for food and agriculture. The treaty signed entered into force on 29th of 2004. Signed Nagoya Protocol on 11th May 2011 and ratified the same on 9th October. We have the geographical indications includes Registration of Protection Act 1999 and the Biological Diversity Act effective from 2004. Then Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights effective from January 2005. So United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, there are about 17 goals like no poverty, zero hunger, to transform our world by 2030. That's the agenda for the Sustainable Development Goal. This Aggro Biodiversity and biodiversity they are linked to some of the goals, development goals that I want to stress here. This is the mainstreaming of biodiversity for increasing crop productivity and reduction and input costs linked to goal number 1 and 2. Then improve the nutrient content quality and reduce post-harvest losses in number 3. Ensure sustainable production in the sustainable development goal of 12, that is the responsible consumption and production, and then climate resilient PGR in goal number 13, that is towards climate action. And on-farm agro biodiversity conservation, it is linked to the sustainable development goal of 15, that is life on land. These sustainable development goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They address the global challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate, environmental degradation, prosperity, and peace and justice. So this is the last slide. I want to stress here that plant genetic resources, that is plants, are required for the crossing and selection, hybrid breeding, cell and tissue cultures, DNA diagnostics, genetic engineering, and genomics, new breeding methods. They all need our plants for doing the betterment of the population. So with this, I would like to conclude that we need to conserve the plant biodiversity to save our future generations. Let us conserve. Biodiversity. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm ready to clarify any questions on there. Thanks a lot for having given me this opportunity. Thanks for
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was very wonderful to see that India is a country where we have lots of resources, lots of genetic resources. You have even covered the medicinal importance of the plants. So I was wondering that joint pain can be treated by Aggro Biodiversity. So can you know how to use Aggro Biodiversity? Means what part should be used in Aggro Biodiversity?
Fruit. In case of fruit, but for joint pains, that seed paste is applied.
Sir, if you can share some of the literature for joint pain, I'll be very happy, sir. Thank you very much.
Is it informative, sir? I don't know whether students are benefited or not. I don't know the syllabus of your university. Otherwise, I would have taken some other subject. I hope.
No, sir, it was wonderful. Sir. It was very wonderful that you have done a great job, sir. Actually, the information what you have shared, really, we should know our country has, what are the riches of our country. We should know the riches of our country. So, how rich we are, though maybe we are a developing country or underdeveloping country, but still we have lot of things with us. So, by seeing your presentation, I have come to know that we are not only rich in plants, we are rich in animals, fishes, and all. Whatever you have shared, really, it is wonderful information. And the cutting end, you have come to the medicinal plants and value. So that was very wonderful, sir. The Department of Botany, Telangana University is very heartfelt thanks. It is a wonderful opportunity for me. So thank you so much, sir. Surely we'll be keeping in touch with you, so that we can have some more kind of virtual meetings, virtual lectures for you.
So on each topic, there are many topics we can handle.
Yes, sure.
This is general topic.
Opportunity. We have YouTube recording of yours. We can play a number of times to our students also. This is a good presentation, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir, for having given me this opportunity to interact with the students and the faculty of the Department of Botany.
Sure, sir. Sir, if you stop sharing the screen, sharing the screen.
Sure. Yeah.
Siddhartha, sir, good morning, sir. Yeah, you can start sharing your screen. Sir is now stopping the sharing of screen.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. Warm welcome from Department of Botany, Telangana University. So it is a warm moment for us to introduce our next speaker from Bangalore. So it is my proud privilege to introduce Sir. Sir is Siddhappa Shetty R, Doctor, Fellow and Associate Professor, Center Convener at Center for Environment and Development in A3, Bangalore. He is an ethnobotanist. He holds a PhD from University of Mysore. He is a committed researcher, practitioner who has bridged science, policy, and practice to achieve sustainable development in the tribal areas in Western Ghats, southern India. Over a 26-year career, he has made tremendous contributions to sustainable resource use through long-term monitoring of forest resources such as honeybees, several non-timber forest products, resource management with community participation, creation of new livelihood opportunities, invasive species management, and acquisition of land tenure for indigenous communities under India's landmark Forest Rights Act. He has trained around 10,000 indigenous harvesters on sustainable use of forest resource, including harvesters. His work spans three protected areas in the Western Ghats, covering about 2,500 square kilometers and a population of around 43,000 individuals, and Hills Wildlife Sanctuary and Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary. Following a 3-year stint with Tata Energy Research Institute, he has been with Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment based in Bangalore, India for 23 years, spending more than 80% of his time in the forest working closely with indigenous communities. He received a Fulbright Nehru Fellowship in 2009 to visit Institute for Natural Resource at Oregon State University, USA, to develop and strengthen mutual learning on the management of biodiversity conservation and sustainable use of natural resources. Siddhappa sir's work has transformed many lives in the region. He has worked at multiple levels from grassroots, Soligard indigenous community, community institutions, local non-governmental organizations, forest managers, higher level government officials up to state-wide gram panchayats, village council and communities. Beside the Western Ghats, he has also worked in Nagaland, Eastern Himalaya and Central India on sustainable harvesting of non-timber forest produce or products with special reference to rock bees Apis dorsata. His research on long-term monitoring of forest resources, enterprise-based conservation model and sustainable use has contributed to many significant conservation decisions by the forest managers and has also strengthened livelihood management strategies for the tribal communities. He has published approximately 35 peer-reviewed research papers, manuals for the community, and shared his work with larger audience at the national and international level, around 100 talks. His I will be sharing this. I will be sharing his YouTube channel in the chat box of YouTube and Zoom. Please kindly you can visit, subscribe his YouTube channel, and you can even watch his efforts, what he put. So with these few words, sir, you can start sharing your screen.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for the.
So with these few words, I welcome Siddhappa sir to start his presentation. Over to sir.
Dr. Khan, thank you. Thank you very much for your wonderful introduction. Actually, I could have shortened it for you, but I shared a page. You ended up saying everything. Thanks for your generosity. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for you personally, on behalf of A3 and also Telangana University for having me invited. Thank you very much. It's a great honor to me to be there with you all today. This is like, I've been working on sustainable use of forest resources for quite some time. I would like to share insights, what experience we had and everything. I work for a research Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment based at Bangalore. We have community conservation centers, been working with Soligard community from past almost 27 years. And some of the highlights, the learning, research learning I would like to share with you all. So I next slide. I just a minute. Yeah, you all might be knowing, the non-timber yielding forest product. Dr. Khan, shall I go ahead? Yeah.
So there is some disturbance. Wait for a minute. I'll suspend the participant activities actually.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Sir, now you start again your screen sharing, sir, actually. Yeah, now no disturbance from the participants will come.
Now you can see my screen.
No.
Okay, just a minute. About now?
Yes, it has come. Yes.
Yeah, you want me to begin from the yeah. So as I said, working on non-timber yielding forest products, forest resources for quite some time in BRT in southern India, working for ETRI for quite some time. So you all might be knowing this, being a students, the forest resources are very, very important, and historically the human lived in the forest and on earth for millennia, thousands of years, and earlier days they never used to be a fast food or anything like that. Like recent days, they used to depend on flowers, roots, and the vegetables, and even for the wearing the cloth also being made out of forest resources, right? So that was the story earlier days. The people utilized the NTFP for various purposes, including food, clothing, tools, vessels, and medicines, and everything was coming from the forest, from the nature completely. One of the first commercially developed resource was the bark of cascara. You might be knowing Rhamnus persiana as a tonic laxative in 1977. That was the first. The product was coming from non-timber yielding forest products so many years back. And the estimated was 1.6 billion people across the globe are dependent on forest resources for their livelihood. And 70% of the forest exports come from non-timber yielding forest products. That is the story. And why the non-timber yielding forest products are very kind of interesting. Sorry. A general assumption that NTFP harvest is less destructive than timber. The earlier days, people used to harvest timber quite a bit. You can see your left-hand side. Even today in northern India, the people harvest quite a bit of timber. The timber is very expensive. It's not affordable to harvest, and that causes quite a bit of damage to the biodiversity. And when it comes to non-timber yielding forest products or forest resources or minor forest produce, that gives an opportunity for us to get into win-win situation where you can address the conservation issues and also livelihood and human well-being issues across the country, across the globe, wherever it is. The beginning in the late 1970, early 1980, the conjunction with the sustainable development movement. At that time, people have started thinking about sustainable development, and this is using forest resources sustainably goes really well with this kind of a concept of the movement. That's what I would like to say. And in that sense, the NTFP harvest or using forest resources, minor forest resources for the livelihood of the tribal community and forest dependent community is so important. And also at the same time, it doesn't cause much damage to the forest like a timber and other resources. That was the summary of the introduction. On the study side, I was actually focusing in western part of the Western Ghats. That's the BRT Tiger Reserve, the Bidigirangaswamy Temple Tiger Reserve. That's one of the protected areas I've been working with quite some time. And also MML's Wildlife Sanctuary, Malaya Madheshwara Wildlife Sanctuary, where Veerappan used to stay there, right? You all might be knowing. And then Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary is another protected areas we have been working with quite some time. I've been working with the Soligard tribal community for many years. Indigenous communities, There are 50,000 population, that's all. And they used to do shifting cultivation and hunting before these areas declared as protected areas. And then they used to depend on, they used to do hunting and shifting cultivation. Now they do settled agriculture, and then depending on forest resources for their livelihood. And then just I'm trying to tell you people that how important the NTFPs are, forest resources for this type of tribal communities who are depending on forest resources for their livelihood and the human well-being of this community. And I'll going to address and how many species are being harvested, important species, how they are getting, these species are being harvested, what kind of impact this species is going to have from the community. That is the story I'm going to tell you all as an example how the forest resources can be harvested, used sustainably, right? These are the Soligard communities, and then depending on forest resources up to 70, according based on our earlier studies, the 60 to 70% of their income was coming from non-timber yielding forest products. And now the dependency on the forest resources is decreasing slowly in this landscape. And one of the things we found was, if people, to use the resources sustainably, it is so important that community should have to have rights or tenure on the resources. Say, for example, you have a mango tree or papaya tree in your backyard or the kitchen garden, and then and then that's your tree, and then you protect them. You put water and manure and everything, and then protect. There's no doubt about it, right? That is the way that's being, based on our research. We are clearly indicated that the tenure, the rights are so important to the community. So in that sense, luckily the earlier people used to talk about relocating people from the protected areas. And then, that was the formula being formulated by the policymakers. So the protected areas, the Forest Right Act, the one of the act was like giving opportunity for the community to use the resources sustainably. So under that, we worked closely with the community to get their rights to use the forest resources in this landscape. That's one of the things that in this landscape, 64 Gram Sabhas have received rights to use the resources. The rights are very important for the community. Otherwise, the sustainable, based on our studies, sustainable harvest is a little bit difficult. So that's what we found. And then I was trying to follow the enterprise-based conservation model. So where you establish enterprise. So when you want to work with the community, on sustainable use of forest resources, and there'll be sustainable harvest techniques people have to follow. They'll not be able to harvest each and everything from the forest, and they have to contribute to the forest and the ecosystem. So in that sense, there'll be a certain loss. Say, for example, instead of harvesting 100 kilos of gooseberry, and then you would encourage people to harvest 60 or 70 kilos, and there'll be a loss of 30 more kilos. So where do they get those income for the communities? So we kind of followed enterprise-based conservation model. So where people encourage people to collect the resources from the forest, and you process it and add value to it, and then you try to increase the income of the community. Whatever the income is being generated from this processing unit will go back to the community in the form of an incentive to conserve the forest. That is the technique. You generate more income, the income you share with the community to conserve the forest. That is the summary of the program. And we had the processing unit, local processing unit. We also had collaborated with the forest department and cooperative societies. And we have, I don't know, this mouse is not working. I'm sorry about it. Otherwise, these are the processing unit we have, and we are adding value to the resource being harvested by the community, including coffee and gooseberry and soap nut and soapberry, honey, everything. We also have an outlet in Mysore Zoo, and also Bangalore, and on site also. This is Madama towards your right hand side, and the top. This is the president of the processing unit. So earlier, the people hesitate to become, take a role, and then we spoke to her. We encouraged her to become a part of this enterprise-based conservation model. She's the one leading this entire effort. Of course, we are kind of facilitating and helping them to do it. And this is like a participatory resource monitoring technique to understand, to use the resources sustainably. You need to understand the production level. You might be wondering, how do you, the forest, okay, the forest is big. How do you harvest resources sustainably? You might be thinking this question. There are three simple concepts one can use it is that, say for example, at your house, you know what is the money available or what is the pocket money you have given to you by your parents, and then you would know exactly how much money you have, how much you can spend, how much you can save, and how much you can spend to purchase book, whatever it is. You have an organized plan, right? Like that only. So for the forest, the people should know what is the production level, how much honey they are getting, or what is the gooseberry quantity they are getting. Okay, and then that is the total quantity available for the entire landscape. And the second one is how much they are harvesting. What is this money being spent, or whatever in your case. In this case, what is the extraction level? And you need to understand that. You need to, first of all, you have to understand production level, extraction level, and how much left in the forest for regeneration. These are the three important components one has to understand and one has to follow to understand sustainable use of forest resources. And also, having said that, to do that, we kind of involved community in doing estimating production level using participatory resource monitoring techniques. Okay, and this was the map prepared by the community. In fact, this is the resource map prepared by the community. Resource map prepared by the community, and this is the productivity estimation done by the community. That's the red one, and the other one is like transect estimates. I was trying to validate how the people have estimated the production. Is that comparable with scientific estimates? Amazingly, it was comparable. Okay, 5 years I was trying to compare this knowledge with the productivity estimation done by the community at the same time done by us. This amazingly comparable. Why I did this estimates and validation is that we have a handful of scientists across India. So we can't have scientists to go and estimate production level across entire landscape, right? Each and every corner of Western Ghats, Eastern Himalayas, Madhya Pradesh, wherever it is. But when if you encourage a tribal community to estimate production level, they can easily do it. And that knowledge is kind of, you can rely on that. So in that sense, it's quite reliable information, so that you involve community in conservation of the forest, so that they know what is the production level, and they know what exactly they harvested, and they would also know how much is left in the forest for germination. So that's the thing. And also you try to talk to people to understand what, according to them, what is doing a biodiversity change, or what are the indicators of biodiversity change or NTFP and related change. Based on that knowledge, they say that fire is an important indicator that according to them, the canopy fire are very bad for the forest. And the litter fire, the lean fire, which burns every year in the landscape, that helpful to the forest for the germination. That's what they say. Historically, they used to practice lean fire, actually. That has been stopped now by the forest department in the name of protected area networks. So accumulation of a lot of biomass in the forest because of the protection of forest from the fire is leading to the canopy fire. That has a danger to the forest. That's what they say. And the second one is a lantana camera. You might all be knowing, being botany students or in that background. The lantana is an invasive species from America, South America, and that's having a major impact on the biodiversity in this landscape. That's what they say. And the hemiparasite, that's hemiparasite means there is a parasite on the tree, and that also kills the host trees, that also having a major impact on gooseberry especially. That's what they say. This is the Soligard explains how the forest is changing, what is contributing more and more dangerous to the forest. That's what they say. Based on our studies, I did some study on one species. This is Phyllanthus semblica. I don't know how many of you know reverse J-shaped curve. If you have a reverse J-shaped curve like this for the population, that indicates that the population is healthy. Okay, if it is not reverse J-shaped curves in this example, the first one, it's not a reverse J-shaped curve. There's a dip here that clearly indicate that there is a population, there is a problem with their population. Say for example, in a way, you say for example, if you have a family, you have a grandfather and grandmother, and then you have a father and mother, and uncle and aunt. That's a sequence, and there you have more children. So you have cousin brothers and sisters, many of them. That's the way it is. Like you will have a lesser number of trees and more number of saplings and juveniles and non-reproductive adults, and further more number in case of seedlings and saplings. Will have much more. So if you have a graph like this, that population healthy, that's how you would understand the resources are sustainable or not sustainable. In this case, it's not sustainable. In this case, it is sustainable. So, and also I have tested that in this case, people harvest only 40%. And in this case, people harvest 60%. And what that indicates, so the harvest is not playing a role in terms of sustainability, because they are harvesting 60%, the population is doing good. They are harvesting 40%, the population is not doing good. In that sense, harvest is not related to the population structure in this case. That's what I'm trying to say. So, what are the reasons? What could be the reasons? So in this also the same graph actually. So the first species, it is closer to 1. That indicates that the population is healthy. If it is far from 1, it's minus. So that population is some problem. This is what that indicates. So in that sense, what could be the reasons? That's what we are trying to analyze. And most of the time what happens is the population is not doing good. Most of the time we blame people, tribal people, saying that, oh, they should not be get an opportunity to harvest resources. They are the one, damaging the forest, something like that. Here there's something else playing a role, that's the problem. So in this case, we went ahead and did some more research. What are the problems? It's not harvest, it's not a problem. What else is playing contributing to the population decline? That's what we were trying to find out, impact of lantana cover and survival seedlings and saplings of Phyllanthus semblica. So the lantana level is low. The invasive species, the weed, is too much in the forest. If the density is low and regeneration is good, and the mortality rate is less, and when there is a lot of lantana in the forest, and the mortality rate is very high, the seedlings are going to die. That is what we found. So the lantana is playing a major role. And another thing is, hemiparasite. The parasites are also killing trees. That is what I found. The tree with the parasite, say for example, I monitored 100 trees with parasite, and after 4 years, the 54% of the trees were died. Okay. And then in this case, tree with Uppilu removed. I was trying to remove the parasite and see, and there was not much mortality I found. And the tree without Uppilu also, the percentage was low. When the parasite load is very high, and the mortality rate of the tree is also very high. That is what I found. And also the ME parasite, because of that, the mortality rate of the tree was very high. Mortality rate of the tree was very high when you have a lot of parasite load on the tree. So this is what we found. And then that is the story about Phyllanthus obliqua, whatever the gooseberry you have seen in the market, and that's coming if that is coming from the forest, these are the problems that is facing. A lot of gooseberries being harvested from forest landscape, and this is the challenges the gooseberry has. This is the second story. That is the first example and the first story I was trying to highlight to you all. And this is the story about honeybees. The Apis dorsata, you might be knowing, they are incredible pollinators. They pollinate 70 to 80% and sometimes 60 to 70% of the crop being pollinated by Apis dorsata. And also the forest landscape. In forest landscape, the forest, the production, the fruit production, and the forest regeneration is taken care and contributed by Apis dorsata bee colonies. There are a lot of other bee species also, Apis cerana indica, Apis florea, trigona, and the dorsata contribute a lot in this landscape. I studied dorsata for almost 20 years, how the population is changing from year to the interannual variability of the population. Say from, according to my studies, the bee population 1996 to 2017, it was like, there's a slow decline in the population of this species. That is what I found. And I was trying to find out, what happens to this species. Like, there was a 2005, there was a ban on harvest of forest resources, and people were not able to go to the forest to harvest the resources. And then I thought maybe it's a good opportunity. What happens before the harvest, when they are harvesting, and what happens when they stop going to the forest for the harvest? Is the population is going up or coming down, or remain the same? That was the curious question I had. So we were trying to, up to 2005, there was a fluctuation and there is a slow decline of bee population in this landscape. And then after the ban, and what I found was, and then instead of, I was under the impression that the population would go up, but it didn't happen. It is like, it was continue to reduce. And then I was trying to talk to people, what are the reasons? And is the harvest is the reason, or ME parasites, or lantana is the reason, and what are the reasons? That's what I was trying to do some experiment on that. And then I found out that the lantana is contributing a lot to it negatively, because of the lantana, there is no urban shrub layer. The nectar availability and the pollen availability in the landscape is declining. And also what happens was that these are migratory bees. They stay in the forest for 3 to 4 months, and rest of the time they'll be in the agriculture land and the cities. When they are in the agriculture land, if the people are using insecticide and pesticide, it will have a problem on the population. And the secondly, when they have in the cities, and people are scared about bees, and they'll try to spray insecticide and pesticide and try to kill them. That's also kind of negatively contributing to the bee population in this landscape. That's so. If the summary is that, when it is not like a site-wise conservation would help and contribute in this case, the bees are migratory. So you have to have a plan to conserve bees in the forest landscape and agriculture landscape and also urban landscape. And then you will be able to protect these bees. It's so important. It's not only, it doesn't help only the tribals are contributing to the population of the species. Of course, everybody has to contribute. And then only we'll be able to conserve these species. That's what I would like to say. This is the story about honeybees and what are the problems and all those things. You might be knowing a lot of honey is being getting marketed in the marketed, and then there's quite a bit of demand, and it's coming from the forest and also from agriculture land. In that sense, we need to before consuming our honey every day with our hot water or lemon. And then you need to think about bees and how we can conserve them. So we need to create awareness on that and protect the bees. It's so important. When you protect the bees, you protect the farmers, because the yield will increase in the agriculture land. At the same time, we also protect forest, because they are incredible pollinators. They contribute a lot to the biodiversity. That's what I would like to say. This is the a second example I would like to share with you all. And then we also worked on one more species. Like one of my PhD students did a thesis and submitted a thesis with the Rhodes University. Her name is Saumya. She worked on gum resin harvest from Boswellia serrata. You might be knowing, maybe in Andhra Pradesh, elsewhere, and Araku Valley and other places, people harvest gum karaya, right? The what is that species? Like Sterculia urens. That is one which contribute to the gum, Sterculia urens, and also Sterculia villosa for some extent. So this is gum resin harvested by the tribal people these are the gum, Boswellia serrata trees, and the gum is being harvested to worship God for senescence, as for the smoke or whatever it is. And this is the species, and this is how they harvest. This is how they damage the tree to harvest resin. And then she did a study on that. And there are 3 different types of resin being harvested from the tree. The pure form, 250 grams to 500 grams per tree. And this is an expensive one, the pure form, and they get 800 to 1,500 rupees per kg. And the soil mixed one is like, the resin oozed out resin will get mixed with the soil, and they'll go and collect the soil with the resin, and they sell it. And the cost is 1 kilo to 5 kilos per tree, and then they get around 60 to 250 rupees per kg. They also harvest, the dead wood, whatever this particular species, the trees have died, means, they'll also collect dead wood. They mix the resin with that and sell it for a very cheaper rate. And 2 kilo in each tree or the plant, they'll get 2 kg to 100 kgs of resin, and it's like 50 to 30 rupees per kilos. This is how they are collecting. And then we did a size class. She did a size class distribution for Boswellia serrata. So Boswellia serrata. And then, we did this study in 3 protected areas like BRT Tiger Reserve, MML's Wildlife Sanctuary, and Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary, 3 landscape. And the BRT Tiger Reserve, the first one, where there is a temple, but the collection, the level of extraction is not so high. And then Kaveri Wildlife Sanctuary, you might have heard about Kaveri and the conflict between Tamil Nadu and Kerala, no? This is the Kaveri I'm talking about. So in that wildlife sanctuary, there is a small temple, but still the level of extraction doesn't go so much. And then in case of MMLs, where Veerappan stayed, as I mentioned earlier, in this, there is a Malaya Madheshwara Shiva temple. And there are a lot of visitors, a lot of visitors. Last week I was in this forest MMLs, and hundreds of people and thousands of people every day. So they end up in harvesting a lot of resin. So that created a lot more problem to the biodiversity. I mean, for this particular species, the Boswellia serrata, as I shared the inverse J-shaped curve earlier slides, this is somewhat looks like an inverse J-shaped curve. And this also, for some extent, looks like an inverse J-shaped curve. And this, in MML's one, it doesn't look like inverse J-shaped curve at all. So that clearly indicates that there is really a problem for this particular species population. That is what we found. In that sense, the conservation of this particular species in MMLs is very, very important. The creating awareness to the people and teaching them sustainable harvest techniques are very important in this landscape. That's what I would like to share with you all. And these are the three stories, like, the gooseberry and sustainable harvester. In case of gooseberry, what are the challenges? What are the issues? How do you do that? And then in the second, in case of honey, and then what are the problems and how do you deal with that? What are the issues? And that was the second example I spoke to you all. And the third one was Bosile serrata. Certainly there is a problem. The harvest techniques need to be changed, and you need to create more awareness. That is what we learned. These are the three examples I was thinking about sharing with you all. Okay, and when you're coming back, as I said earlier, the invasive species lantana is having a major problem on the biodiversity and also these species. I said that, and fortunately we monitored them. What's happening with the species? How the population of lantana is changing from past 20 years. We have a very nice data. Those lantana cameras, say for example, 20 years back, 25 years back, it was 44%, that's all. And the 10 years back, it was increased to 34%. Now the population is, the density has gone up to 47%, 4, 34, and 47. You can imagine how quickly it's encroaching the entire forest. You can clearly understand. And then at the same time, the native flora was 96%, and it was reduced to 66, and now it is further reduced to 53. And it's almost 50% of the biodiversity has gone from the forest because of the invasive species like lantana camera. Okay, this is how the map we have prepared. 97, I did digitize the entire 540. This is a 540 square kilometer of the forest, and then we divided them into the grid. And then 134 grids were monitored. And then 2008, again, one of our PhD students, Bharat Sundaram, monitored those plots. And he did his PhD on this, and the density was 34%. And recently, 2018 as well, just before the pandemic, we did the study again. And then and a couple of our interns, like Arvind, his name is, and Dr. Amkila Iremat, she worked on invasive species, is part of this study, and then the density was 47%. That's how it is. And also we, I don't know how much time I have, Dr. Khan, is okay?
Sir?
Oh, yeah. You all can hear me, right? Properly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And then the lantana camera, we did some collaborative study. So the forest department was trying to remove lantana and invest some money and energy, effort, manpower, fund and everything. And they uprooted lantana in some place, and they encouraged us to go and do some research in this landscape. So we did a study, and where we found out that lantana uprooted area is kind of contributing for the regeneration of the forest. Say, for example, within this is like a lantana uprooted place, sapling population has increased. That's one thing we found. And the seedling population also increased where they are removed lantana, and the grass species also increased where they removed lantana. So when they remove lantana properly, there's also a technique called Sear Babu technique, where you remove lantana with a cut root stock method. People would like to know more about it. I can talk to you people later. So when you remove lantana and then you see there are changes, and the grass population is increasing, seedling population is increasing, sapling population increasing. At the same time, we also found the more animals are visiting to the where there is no lantana. There are studies also clearly indicated that Sukumar team, NDS of Science, NCBS, Nature Conservation Foundation, there are people also found out that where there's a lot of lantana, there's animals have a difficulty in roaming around, walk around and everything. Even the tiger population is less where you have a lot of lantana. That is the way in which the lantana is creating a problem to our biodiversity. Okay, and then what we are doing is, we thought around 15 years back, what shall we do with this lantana and how to get rid of it? And then that was the question we have been asking. And then we started working with the tribal community in this landscape. Anyway, their income level is very low. Why can't we involve them using this resource, or whatever the weeds to wealth concept, like, use this weed and make something out of it and sell it and make livelihood out of it. And earlier people used to use bamboo to make baskets and furnitures. And the bamboo and basket and and furniture making is not good for the forest, because a lot of animals depend on bamboo for the fodder, the food. At the same time, and a lot of people go and harvest bamboo to use bamboo as a food, right? So we kind of encouraged people to use lantana to make furnitures and everything out of it. And we have 3 lantana craft centers and 20 master craftsmen. We have 300 people trained on site, 40% of women, and around 500 people trained outside MMLs, and 130 households income has increased 6 times. And people used to get around 6,000 per month as an income, and it has gone to 36,000 per month. That's the way in which this crafts for we are making. The lantana craftsmen are making the life-size elephants out of lantana. Okay, these are the furnitures made out of lantana. You can't believe it, right? So this is exactly look like a cane, and these are the furnitures. These are the products made out of lantana, like chair and table, and then very attractive, like pineapple. There are so many things. I've just picked up some products for you people to take a look at it. And then this is what we should be thinking, like, if something is a problem to our biodiversity and things like that, try to make use of it. There are a lot of people also tried earlier days, like a lot of invasive species were kind of being used to make manure and compost out of it, and all those examples we have seen. So in this lantana, you can do something like this. Okay, and then in Andhra Pradesh, in Kuppam, people used to make baskets actually very long back, around 20 years back. 20 years back, actually, I visited Kuppam to see how people are using lantana to make baskets. But that didn't pick up well. We learned some basket making out of lantana, and our people tried. It didn't really take off. And the furnitures are, this thing is going really well. That is what it is. And also the conservation awareness program is so important. You do a lot of research and you share the results of your research work with the community, and also local communities and the forest department, forest managers, school students, and everybody, stakeholders. And that helps them to learn more about what's happening to this particular species. And everybody should know. The Soligard community should know. School in and around the forest landscape should know. And the Karnataka Forest Department, they are the custodian, and they play an important role in terms of conserving the forest, right? And they should get to know what results you have and try to share this with them. And also, there are some people, they can use this information to build and develop the management plan for these landscapes. That helps to conserve the forest and also ecosystem. At the same time, it helps to enhance the livelihood of the tribal communities in this landscape, right? So on sustainable harvest, whatever the biodiversity conservation and related issues. So that's all I had. I wanted to. I don't know how much time I have taken. Thank you one and all for listening to me, and I would like to give more time for a discussion. Feel free to ask me any questions, no issues, and you can also write to me later. If you're curious to know more about the project, you can speak to me through phone. I would request Dr. Khan also to give the phone number to you all. So it'll be nice, yeah. So that's all. Thank you very much for the Telangana University for inviting me. And also my special thanks to Dr. Khan for inviting me to deliver this lecture. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was very wonderful to see that lantana can be used in this way.
Yeah.
So it was a very good knowledge, very new knowledge that cottage industry by lantana. By using even lantana, we can do so many wonders. I was very puzzled to see this new information. Really, sir, people working in apiary are not normal people. They are super, I would say, superlative people working. Like I had Saubhadra madam, I had our Ravikant sir, from whom I got your contact. So all these people, few people I met, and I found that all these people are really doing wonderful job. Really, A3 is hats off to have such a good collection of people, researchers, and ethnobotanists and whatnot. So many, I would say, efficient personalities are there in the hub called A3. A3 is really named Ashoka because Ashoka was the first person in our Indian history who long back started reforestation and started forest to make the country green. So really, these people are also doing their own efforts, putting their own efforts to make the country look very good and exploring the new informations in a very wonderful way. Really, long live A3 and long live the people who are working in the A3. So with these few words, I would like to thank you for giving such a wonderful talk for us. And we have stored your things in our YouTube live streaming. So hope that we'll be playing this number of times and showing people that how lantana is neglected in our place, and that could be a good source of generating income by small cottage industry. You have shown so beautiful things can be done by using lantana. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I express my deep sense of heartfelt thanks for giving such a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you
And we
so much.
will request you many more lectures in future that will give us a lot of knowledge and encourage our youth and youngsters to grow in this way.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Any questions from the students, Dr. Khan? Let me know.
Pardon, sir?
Any questions from the students? Let me know.
Sir, if any questions are there, usually it is a classroom kind of lecture. So students don't ask any more questions mostly. So our next speaker is there. Sir, can you kindly make your screen share stop?
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sir, Aftab, sir, can you start sharing your screen? Aftab, sir.
Yeah. I'll log out.
I'll come. I'll come.
Thank you.
I'm coming.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, you start sharing your screen, sir.
Sure. 1 minute. Just a minute. Oh God. Halim, I have some problem. How where to share? 1 minute. I'm just coming in. I'm trying to do that. Just a minute, because now, but where do I share the screen? I'm not getting the share screen icon here. हाँ यार वो भी वो just a minute. I have to go back to your this thing. Just a minute. I'll come back. Yeah. Just a minute. Can you see now? So I can start now, right?
1 second. Let me introduce you, sir. It's a proud privilege to have with us today Professor I.S. Aftab Hussain sir, retired professor, Crop Physiology Department, University of Agriculture Science, GKBK, Bangalore. Sir belongs to Chintamani Taluk of Kolar district, Karnataka. He did his schooling from Chintamani and Srinivaspur. After completion of his PUC from Shimoga, he moved for BSc Agriculture degree from Dharwad Agriculture College, and later on he obtained MSc and PhD from University of Agriculture Science, GKBK, Bangalore. He started his job in Agriculture University as research assistant at Raichur in 1974. Later, he worked in EID, Paris and Mangalore Chemicals and Fertilizers as sales personnel, and then worked as assistant horticulture officer in the Karnataka State Department of Horticulture in different places till 1984. In 1984, Sir joined the University of Agriculture Science, Crop Physiology, and continued as a professor in department till 2016 April. He has guided 17 MSc students, MSc Agriculture students, and 2 PhD Agriculture students as major advisor, and served as advisory member for 50 MSc and PhD Agriculture students. He carried out he carried out he carried out his research in abiotic stress in identified PGNP genotypes for drought conditions through physiological traits like root traits, water use efficiency, canopy temperature, screening through infrared thermometry, and temperature induction response technique. Plant nutrition, specifically on phosphorus nutrition involving both transgenic and non-transgenic approaches, was his area of research interest. That developed transgenic PGNP plants efficient in phosphorus uptake under phosphorus deficient conditions by overexpressing genes encoding citrate synthase. He adopted a non-transgenic approach to identify phosphorus efficient PGNP genotypes through acid phosphatase activity. He carried 5 ad hoc research projects as principal investigator with outside funding including DPT and Indian Council for Agriculture Research, New Delhi. Also, he was associated with 4 different research projects as co-principal investigator. He has been associated in